Hi, my name is Jill Brodersen. I am a licensed architect in Wayne, Nebraska, and I'm here today to talk to you about a career in architecture. I have always known I wanted to be an architect. When I was in 7th grade, I had a sketchbook and I would draw buildings and design houses. My dad was a builder, my grandpa was a builder, and my parents gave me the push I needed to become an architect. In high school, I took classes in calculus, physics, geometry, and art. If you have classes in your high school for drafting, I recommend those. They're not required, but it's a nice introduction into drafting. Architects, we use drafting is just a tool. It's not something that we use every day. But I do highly recommend all the math you can get in high school, because once you get to college, those math classes can be kind of difficult. At least they were for me. Anyway, I went to college at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I took classes in calculus, physics, engineering, structures, strength of materials, building technology, and architecture design. After college, I needed an internship, and that is required to be an architect. An internship, you work under a licensed architect and really gain the knowledge that you need for your future. Once you've done with your internship, my internship was 5 years. After that, I was able to sit for the national registration exam to become a licensed architect. Once I passed that, then I became licensed. I've worked in small offices and large offices around this area. I've worked on big projects and small projects. Anyway, architecture is really a team effort when it comes to a big building project. Not one person does everything. You have an engineer that maybe does the foundation, an architect that does the design, an interior designer that helps pick colors and materials, and you'll also have a team of drafters to work on the project. So that's a team effort. Right now, though, I am the team because I work for myself. It's just myself in my office, and right now I am working from home, as you can see. Anyway, I am responsible for the project from start to finish, from meeting with the client until it is done with construction. How an architect works. I have a client approach me that needs a building. Maybe they need a new building, an addition to their existing building, a renovation, or a restoration. The client has a property or a site and where they want to put the building. They have a budget, how much they can spend, and then they have the need, what type of building it is that they want. I will first do some research, where is the site? Is it downtown or is it out in the country? Is it in the mountains or on a lake? The building, the way it looks, is kind of determined by where it's being put. Those buildings will all look vastly different. Then I will work with the client on how the building will be used and do some research. For example, if it is a school, how many students are in that school building? Is it 300 or is it 3,000? And then what are the services that are needed in that school? Do they need specialized classrooms for chemistry, music, choir, art? Do they need a gymnasium and locker rooms? Do they need a cafeteria? Do they need a kitchen? That kind of thing. So I'll talk to the client to see exactly it is what they need. And then I will research more by talking to the people who are actually using the buildings. If it is a medical clinic, for example, I will talk to the doctors and nurses and patients, and just to get their input on what it is that they want for their building and how I can make it better for them. I designed a care facility for an Alzheimer's care center, and I was able to do a lot of research on the disease, but mostly I did the research with the nurses, the staff, and the family members to really understand the Alzheimer's disease and how I could change their lives by my building design. Okay, on that Alzheimer's facility, after I talked to the nurses and I really understood what the problems was, they said one of the problems was at their old place was these long corridors. So they would have a long hallway and they would end here like this, and the patients' rooms were here along the sides like this. Well, the problem was that the Alzheimer's patients would get down to the end of this corridor and then they would forget how they got there. And they would start to panic and, hurt themselves and tear the wall apart. And so this became these long corridors in their building design became a real problem to these patients. So I worked with the staff and came up with an idea to create, now this is a floor plan, in a triangle shape, a corridor in this kind of triangle shape here. And now along the sides here like this is where the patient rooms were. So like that and like that. And then this was their corridor. And this was all open here. Although there was a nurse's station here, so a counter where the nurses would sit, and then the dining seats were here, so this is where the patients would eat. So when the patients come out of their rooms, they would walk the corridor like this. And then there was never a dead end. We never had a panic attack. We even put little window boxes here at each patient room so they could put something that was familiar to them so they might recognize that this was their room a little bit easier. At the one end here, we had a room that's where the cats were. It's kind of a lounge area where people could go in there, and they had cats for the patients. Anyway, that was a design, I think it was pretty remarkable because this changed the way these patients, the care for these patients. It made the lives of the nurses so much easier to be able to care for the patients, and it made the patients feel just not have those panic attacks anymore. Anyway, so that's kind of the design process. Once I have a design, I need to convey that to the owner, so kind of get their approval to say, hey, do you like my design? This is a design sketch. I use floor plans, I use sketches, I use computer drawings. Here's a computer drawing of a daycare facility, and sometimes I just give somebody a nice little sketch like this. This is what your building could look like, with your design, and then I work closely with the client to determine if they want to go ahead with this, or if we need to go back and work on a different design, if they like this or not. Once I am done designing the building, then I will start to work on the construction documents. These are the plans for the building. It is really the instructions for the building so the contractor can know what to build. It shows how the building is laid out, the floor plan, how tall the building is, what type of roof is on there, the pitch of the roof, the materials used inside and out, whether it's stone or wood, size of the windows. Everything is detailed on these plans. Type of heating and cooling system, electrical, lighting. You can see the chandelier there in the ballroom. Electrical, the lighting, how it sits on the site plan. Is it close to the road or is it set back? Is the parking in the front or is the parking in the back? Lighting for the exterior, lighting for the parking lot. Every detail is shown on these plans, and then how things get put together. What type of insulation to use. Here's a gutter and the roof. This is showing a door and dimension that I need to have for ADA clearance. Everything I have, everything I put into this building is shown on these plans that the contractor gets. I also need to research the codes. These are design laws for the buildings. We call them codes. So we have building codes that tell us how wide a corridor needs to be. We have building codes to help people escape in case there's a fire. We make sure that there are enough doors in each room. These are just a couple of my code books. We have codes that tell us how many plumbing fixtures need to be in a building if it is, based upon the type of building. How many toilets for the men, how many toilets for the women. We also have codes for handicapped accessibility. This one here is showing a code so somebody doesn't accidentally walk on the underside of the stairs and hit their head. So I do a lot of research on these codes to make sure what I have drawn on my plans meets these codes because they are actual laws. So everything I put in my buildings has to follow these codes. Anyway, the Americans with Disabilities actually probably heard of that. This is a code that I use quite extensively. Um, every building needs to be designed so that a person, whether they are using a hearing impaired, sight impaired, or they are physically impaired, can come in and use the building unaided. So it doesn't mean somebody can help them up. No, they need to be able to get in and use the building by themselves and be able to get in it and use the restroom by themselves. How big, how high the countertops can be, how big the stall is for the for the restroom, how high that toilet paper holder is, how high the sink is, and the soap dispenser. So that's all in there, and it's something that I use like a lot. Anyway, that's those are the construction documents that I use, and you'll see here I have like a set of plans, and these are really the instructions that show the builder how to build the building. This is a project of mine. It is the Beaumont Event Center located just north of Wayne, and it was in what was a cornfield and a vacant site, and we built this new building. And off to the right is the Wayne Golf Course. Anyway, with the design of this building, first of all, you're going to need lots of parking because there's a lot of people. It's an event center, and it can seat up to 1,000 people. So we wanted the parking up to the front, and then what was important to me was that drive-through. You see how there's a circle drive there and an entrance canopy, so you can pull up and drop off grandma, or you can drop off the bride, and they don't have to get wet. They're out of the weather, and it makes it a big grand entrance. You know where the entrance is on this building. And I'm kind of excited about this because it's a great place for people to celebrate their weddings, and to think that I was the architect on this beautiful building, and it's very exciting for me. This next project is the Wayne Country Club. For this project, it was an addition onto their existing building. The existing building was the left half, and the right half of what you see there is new. But for my project, I wanted to make sure that you couldn't tell the old from the new. So on the outside, I had the roof match the existing roof. And I added new building materials to the outside so it all looked like it was one building. And I added that entrance canopy again. I just love being able to go up to a building and you know where the entrance is, and you have a chance to drop off somebody. Or if you're in a golf cart, you can pull right up to the door and park under that entrance canopy. Here we are at the entrance canopy of the Wayne Country Club. The old country club was not accessible, meaning a person in a wheelchair couldn't get up to it. But the new building, where there's no step into the building, and they can get in. What was important for this owner was to be able to look out and see the golf course. So when you come in, you have lots and lots of windows. And then seating area, if you want to have a small reception or just relax after a game. And you can see all the way out there. And then we added a deck onto this building so you come out and enjoy the great view. This was a fun project because a lot of people I know golf and use the building that I designed, so it was exciting for me to do this project. This next project is the Wayne Terminal Building, part of the Wayne Municipal Airport, and it is attached to an airplane hangar. See that behind there? This building, I wanted to incorporate some brick because of the Wayne streets. I wanted to represent the brick streets in this building, so I used a lighted wall panel there, some brick there. The terminal building is actually a building that is used for the pilots and the passengers to come in after a flight and rest in between their flights. So there's this lounge area here, an office, restrooms with a shower in case you have a long layover and you want to take a shower. And then here is a coffee bar. Pilots can access computers there. A hallway. Anyway, this is the pilot's lounge where the pilots can actually sit and read or watch TV. It is designed for them to be able to take a nap in between flights. Let's say they fly somebody into Wayne State College for a meeting. While their client is in a meeting, the pilots can take a nap. The room back here at the end of the hallway is a classroom, a meeting room, and it is used for that. You notice I used a lot of wood in this building. I wanted the terminal building to be warm and cozy, inviting, homey. I wanted it to say this is a Midwestern building. And so I used a lot of wood. You also notice that in this room I used carpet on the floor. And that is because in a meeting in a classroom, you need the sounds not to echo and bounce off those surfaces. So carpet here, and then out here where you want to keep it a little bit cleaner and easier to clean, and I've got the solid surface floors there. So I designed every little detail to this bulletin board on the hallway so that they can hang their stuff. I designed that. I designed every little piece of trim and the windows. I even picked out those ceiling fans, the cabinets, the window sills, the sides of the windows. Everything that goes into a building, the architect designs. This next project you might recognize from the drawings on my desk. There's a baseball field in Wayne, and what happened was there was a big tree over there, not there anymore, that fell onto the old grandstands. The grandstands were built of wood and they felt somewhat historic. So we wanted to recreate that feeling but build something new. So I designed a wooden grandstand reminiscent of the old one, but maybe a little bit better. Better sight lines, a better handrail, better seats, and the covered canopy. And then over there is the concession stand and restrooms that are also accessible, handicapped accessible restrooms. I didn't have anything to do with that field. But I did design this other building. This building over here has, on the lower right side is a garage. And then when you walk in that blue door there, you go up the stairs, and there is the announcer's booth up there with the windows, and lots of windows facing the field. And then underneath where the announcer's booth is of course the home field dugout, nice and shady. And then part of my site design was to include this picnic area for fans. They could sit out there in the picnic area and enjoy a game, or again up in these wooden grandstands. This next project of mine was the Viero building in downtown Wayne. It was built between two downtown buildings where there was no building before. At one time there was a restaurant there, but it burned down and it sat as a vacant open lot for a long time until Viero came to town and they wanted to build their building. But the owners wanted a very modern building that suited the cell phone business. I didn't think a modern building suited downtown Wayne. So I designed this traditional looking building with the brick, but I added some modern touches, like the metal roof and the neon sign. They loved it so much that they built a building in Norfolk. They had me design a building for them in Norfolk that was very similar to this. And what is important to the owners was to have the name Viero on display, lit up all the time. So there is the Viero sign up above with lights on the roof shining on it. And then when you drive by, you can maybe see it better at night, you can see the Viero sign inside on that back wall there. My next project is this remodeling project, the Majestic Movie Theater in downtown Wayne. The building used to look like this. Back in 2010, the movie theater had closed. and the community bought it and used volunteers to restore it or renovate it into what it looks like today. The budget was tight. We did not have a lot of money to make major changes to the outside, especially. Most of the money was spent on the inside. And so I had to deal with the brick and that funny little roof on the outside. We couldn't change it. There was not enough money to change it. So I put on some black shingles like you see here, and we put up a new marquee. We made the marquee big and bright with lots of lights underneath. So the focus is on the marquee and not on that ugly roof and the ugly brick. They kept the ticket booth where it is. They put in some new glass there, put on new front doors, and a little display area over there. The inside was completely remodeled. New bathrooms, new concessions, and made accessible for all. The interior lobby with the concessions over there. The counter is accessible for people in a wheelchair. And if you notice, there's a sculpture on the wall. And then the restrooms are this way. They are accessible for people in a wheelchair. And that drinking fountain in the mirror, well, that was with the original building, and everybody remembers it as an icon. So we kept it and made it functional. And then as you go through here, this is what we call the light lock. This is where, once the movie starts, they close those curtains there. And then you can come and go without the light shining on the movie screen. See the movie screen ahead? And the light outside back there. So if you were to open the doors without the light lock, the light would shine on the screen and everybody would be like, hey, close the door. That's why we have the light lock. The curtains go down. And then you can open the doors without letting all the light in. On the inside, we remodeled it into one big theater. At one time, it was 2 movie theaters with small screens. Now it is a big screen, lots of seating, and you see those wall panels there? They are soundboard. They actually soak up the sound so it's not so loud and echoey in here. And the lights on the side, I wanted them to be a wall wash, so they kind of just washes the wall and looks nice. And when the movie trailer starts, you'll notice that those lights will go down to a certain level. And then when the movie starts, those lit lights dim down all the way. There's an upper area here for, it's a level area, it's not sloped, that they can have tables and chairs sitting out here. And it's very wheelchair friendly. Another thing we put in was some lighting in the aisles. Now that stays on the whole time, even when it's completely dark in here. And there is an exit there. And some exits back there, and then another exit there. I talked earlier about codes. Now there are codes that say, if there was a fire in this building, I have to get everybody out. Usually what happens in a fire is everything goes black. And so it's completely dark in here. Well, those exit signs would light up, and they're lit now, and they would stay lit. They have a battery in them, so they would stay lit and direct everybody to the exits. It's part of that building code that I talked about. Make sure you get people in and out of your building safely, and especially if there's a fire. Underneath the stage, I don't know if you can see that, there's some stairs that go underneath the stage. It's where the old furnace and air conditioning was in the very original building, and we turned that into a green room. So that's where, if there was a production, a stage production, they would get ready in the green room. And then we have the stage here, and then this is the movie screen. And it actually, that's what they call it, it actually flies. So it goes straight up. There's a mechanism to reel the screen straight up, and then it becomes a full stage for a stage production, a band. It was a fun project doing this majestic movie theater. because it's someplace that I go all the time. My friends come here all the time, and um, I don't know, it's just a fun project. Probably because I had a hand in designing everything. These panels on the wall, I designed them to have a little bit of an interest, to be at different levels, just so it looked interesting. And then there's this railing here. I designed this railing around there to have the majestic logo on there. I designed the lights. See how they're kind of tucked up and hidden behind there? When you look over there, you don't see those lights, but you see them right up there. This last project is a bank building here in Wayne. It was designed by an architect from Lawrence, Kansas. His family owns this bank. And I gave him a career day talk back when he was in high school. I hope you can see why I find architecture so interesting. Every project is different. Different site, different budget, different materials. I find it very interesting to work on these the variety of projects, to have a chance to design something up here in my head, draw it out on paper, present it to a client, and then have somebody build it. And now people walk into it and people use it. I enjoy that, and I know that my buildings will be here probably for a long time, many years, hundreds of years, I hope, and just change people's lives, make better working environments, better living environments, and I like having a part of that. I like being an architect. If you are interested in architecture some more, please contact me. I am on Facebook. I have a Jill Brodersen Architect Facebook page. I have a Jill Brodersen Architect Instagram page, and you can also contact me through the extension office. They have my number there. Thanks for watching. Bye.